Hi guys, day two of the Australian Open, and Wozniacki just won a close first set, a tiebreak over Townsend. Townsend's got a lot of game, so we'll see what happens. Anyways, I wanted to make mention of the conditions, mainly the surface and the ball, and mainly the ball, because something changed last year. I'm pretty sure it was last year. That maybe it started a little before that, but I think mainly last year we saw it, especially with the ball, an effort by the organizers to speed up the game. And it's not really being sped up with pace, believe it or not. People will think that, and players will even say, oh, it's faster. But balls stay lower. They're not necessarily faster, but a lower bounce correlates to more offensive tennis. You can do more, get more angles, just make more winners, and you actually have more variety because you can keep the ball lower. You can actually take pace off the ball even more and make it die. You know, there's a lot of little things can be done, and the ball's kind of flat. I call it a flat tire ball, basically, and drop shots can work well if that. So that's more variety. But anyways, it leads to more offensive tennis, especially with the racket technology today and the big power hitting by some of the players, especially on the men's side, but on the women too. And those are the guys, women and men, who are going to benefit by just cranking it up. Wawrinka last year was a perfect example, and Berdych, who were both in the Final Four. And, I mean, they crank it up. And Wawrinka's a little more aggressive. Berdych needs to be a little more aggressive with his power, and he could benefit and go all the way this year if he does that. Anyway, a quick history. I'll make this as simple as possible. I mean, technology's come a long way, and it's changed the game of tennis, obviously, starting with the rackets. The balls got better as well. They used to be kind of hard and heavy, I think, and then they started doing more things with the felt and able to keep the air in them better because the rubber composition was stronger, so the air didn't leak as bad. And, you know, by the way, I mean, there's only three things to a ball. I mean, you know, you have the rubber core where it all starts, and the amount of air that's inside, the compressed air, and then the felt on the outside. And then way long ago, I don't think they even had felt. But anyway, there are things you can do with the felt, and there is technology. And with the air compression, you can not do too much. You either give more air compression or less. So it's a lively ball or a deader ball. But with the rubber composition is what you can really play with, especially with today's chemistry and technology. I mean, man, there's a lot of different components. I think one time when Babolat took over the French Open ball, Dunlop wasn't too happy, but they tried to imitate the Dunlop ball, and they thought they did all the measurements right, but it didn't come out. They had the bounce of it and everything, and it didn't play right. It played too quick because it was basically a harder rubber. I can guarantee you that it was more of a hard court type of rubber, which is a little harder. And Dunlop came out and made a statement saying, we have 14 different chemicals in our rubber, and you expect that they're going to make the same exact ball? So, and there's things statistics, I love statistics just to get an overall feel about certain things, but never take it with a grain of salt. I've said this so many times. I love like the punting or the gambling community who is so hyped up on statistics because we're not that good yet. I mean, we're not advanced enough as a culture, in my opinion, to understand the full scale of what statistics are telling us, and they can be interpreted and misinterpreted in so many ways. And that's the same if you're measuring the bounce of the ball and you have it all perfect, and now we have the same ball. It doesn't going to be the same thing, and depending on the weather and just many things, the way the guy's hitting it, the type of string, blah 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 blah, things I don't even know. Nobody knows, and they're still out there. So anyway. The basic thing of what happened is in the 90s with the explosion of racket technology, even before that, but in the 90s, people were crushing the ball. Checking out Jimmy Wang's giving a good one to Isner. But anyway, people were crushing the ball. A guy like Pete Sampras was one and done. You know, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Quick serve, quick hit, done. One strike, two strike tennis, and we were losing TV viewership. The rackets were too strong. The balls were nice and pumped up and lively, and the courts were fast. The hard courts didn't have much sanding in them yet. They were more like a asphalt. And the grass was the old grass, the bent grass stuff that just flew on that stuff. The turf was softer back then too, so the ball stayed low in the grass I'm talking about. And clay's pretty much been the same. If anything, clay courts might have been slower back then, but they actually were, believe it or not. Now they're harder and faster a little bit, but we'll leave clay out of this for now. So, as we got to the 2000s, I mean, something had to be done. I mean, we can't have one-strike tennis. Nobody wants to watch this. Plus, it's getting out of hand. There's more to the game than just serving. You know, there's a lot more. And you want rallies. That's what's exciting. So They started adding sand to the hard courts. They started doing a different type of grass mix in the Wimbledon that was harsh, a little harder. Plus, they compacted the surface more, made it bounce higher. So there was things like that going on. But the big thing is the balls. I mean, not in the hard courts is a big thing too. They couldn't do a lot with hard courts and a little bit with the grass, but the balls were a big thing as well. People don't realize they started first just taking air out of the balls and making them deader, which is how to slow a ball down. But as the racket technology improved, it didn't. It was still not enough. So they took more out, and pretty soon then they started adding heavy felts and just doing everything that these balls were now getting.